Hey guys, this is Naveen here. Welcome back to Naveen Automation Labs. So today, back to our mock interview series, guys. We have one very good candidate. His name is Ravi, and I can see his resume with me. He's having around 6+ years of experience in testing and a combination of different types of testing. Like we have web automation, API automation using different tools like RestAssured and WebDriver with Java and good exposure on different CI/CD pipeline, Jenkins, QA strategies, test case planning. Good. That resume looks really good. 4 to 5 pages resume, and then he based out of Chandigarh in India. So Ravi, can you please start your cam now?
Yeah, hi Naveen.
How are you, Ravi? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So you are in Chandigarh. It must be very cold, right? It must be the temperature is really low.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can see the difference. You are in jacket and I'm just in my t-shirt in Bangalore. That is the advantage of Bangalore. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, Ravi. So let's start and tell me about yourself. What exactly you're doing in your current company, and then what is your roles, responsibility in terms of testing, in terms of tools, automation. What exactly you are doing?
Okay. So yeah, my name is Ravi. I have total of
Hmm.
6 years of experience in testing only. This is including manual and automation testing. I have started my career with manual testing only, and there
Hmm.
I have worked for about 4 years in manual testing, and then I moved into automation team. And from last two
Hmm.
years, I am in automation area. And talking
Hmm.
about automation, I have used Selenium WebDriver for web automation, and for API testing, I have used RestAssured with BDD approach. And apart from that, I have also
Okay.
worked in some CI/CD tools like Jenkins, GitHub, and all. And
Hmm.
talking about some other areas, I have worked in AWS cloud computing as well, where we are ingesting the data of the customer, and later on we are validating whether the customer is queryable or not from the database. So this is my overall experience. And about my
Hmm.
team, right now I'm working in Agile methodology. So there are multiple Scrum teams, and I'm
Hmm.
a part of Scrum team where I'm performing an individual contributor there. And
Hmm.
uh, like we are working on user stories, and by this we are going ahead with our project.
Okay, so you're working as an individual contributor. So, I mean, you are the only QA person and you are the only person who is doing automation. So, what do you mean by individual contributor?
So individual contributor is like we are whole
Hmm.
responsible for the user stories. We are getting our user stories, and from the script creation to execution and automation, we are responsible for that
Okay.
from the point of view.
So, we are responsible or you are responsible because individual
Yes,
contributor means you are the only person who is contributing for
I'm
that.
talking about myself. Like as we testers, there are, as I told you, that there
Okay.
are multiple Scrum team, and in every Scrum team,
Hmm.
we have assigned one QA over there, and we are
Hmm.
so by
Okay. Good, good, good. So, in terms of testing, you guys are, what is the testing process over there? Can you please tell me like what kind of testing activities or are you designing any test cases? So overall, what are different testing practices you guys are following? Can you please
Yeah.
tell me?
So I'll start with manual test cases. In the starting, when I
Hmm.
was working in the manual area, we were creating the test cases, we were creating the test plans, and we were
Okay.
using ALM as a test management tool. So there we were creating all test cases. We were raising the
Hmm.
defects, and we were handling all the client call, that is defect call, all the review call, walkthrough calls. And talking
Hmm.
about the automation, yes, we are creating our test cases for web, as
Hmm.
said, that for web applications we have used Selenium WebDriver, and in Selenium WebDriver
Okay.
I have used Maven with the page object model design pattern, and we have created
Hmm.
multiple layers over there. That is page layer, test layer, and then test runner classes that we are maintaining. And apart from that, there are multiple utilities classes we have created where we have kept
Okay.
the which is usable.
So we can talk about your automation things maybe in some time, but I'm more interested like what are other testing activities you guys are doing. For example, you're saying managing the defects, test cases. What else in terms of testing you guys are doing? In which area you are majorly involved? Like only for UI testing you are doing it, or maybe functional or other non-functional things also you are doing?
Yeah, we are responsible for functional testing as well, all the UI testings as well, and
Hmm.
we are performing sanity regression testing as well. So these type of
Okay.
testing we are performing.
Do you have any exposure on like performance testing or using any
No,
tool or okay, okay. But have you ever any try to explore these kind of tools with respect to performance, like JMeter
yeah,
or load runner or something like this?
tool is there which we can use for performance testing,
Mhm.
but I never worked on that area. Yeah.
Okay. So you are majorly with UI as well as you are testing your backend and
Yes,
API
yeah.
testing also you're doing it. Okay. Can you tell me like five important APIs in your current project? These are that you are actually doing it and you are testing these five important APIs.
Okay, so as of now for API testing, I have worked in two projects. In the first
Mhm.
project, the project was like we were creating the APIs, we were creating the customer records. Let's say
Mhm.
a new customer is coming on the bank and he wants that they want to use
Just tell me
internet
the
banking.
API name. Just tell me the API name. No need to explain about the API. Just tell me the API name. Okay, these are the
We're
APIs
talking about in
that we are
context
using it.
get request, post request.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Just tell
yeah,
me the
I have
API method names. Mhm.
Yeah, there is get request, there is put, and then post is there, and patch is there. So these APIs we
Yeah.
have used.
No, get post put is there, but tell me the API name. Let's see for example, get account ID or get account information or create account,
Yeah,
something like this. You can you
yeah.
tell me?
In get customer, we are searching the data from the web server. We are sending
Mhm.
one customer ID with the request, and from the server we
Mhm.
are receiving the response, and we are validating that response whether we are receiving the correct response or not. Talking about the post request,
Mhm.
we are sending one body with a request and with some
Mhm.
field, mandatory fields, and once we are
Mhm.
sending the request, we are receiving the response, we are validating the status code, we are validating the messages, whatever the messages
Mhm.
we want to validate. And for these APIs, we are using some type of authentications as well, that is OAuth 2.0.
So are you using authentication only sometimes or for all the APIs you are using it?
For all the APIs, we are using
Mhm.
authentication.
So what kind of authentication you are using?
In the first project, I have used bearer token, and
Mhm.
in my current project, we are using OAuth
Mhm.
2.0.
What is OR 2.0? What do you mean by this 1.0 and 2.0? Do you have any idea? Because you are practically using it. So I'm
Yeah.
expecting that, okay, you know about
Uh,
2.0, 1.0.
all the authorizations are part of
Mhm.
token only, bearer token only. So I think like
Mhm.
earlier we used to use OAuth 1.0, but nowadays
Mhm.
2.0 is highly used because in this the security is, they have provided more
Mhm.
security, and it's
Mhm.
like we are generating one token and it gets expired, so it provides more security over there. And to generate the token,
Mhm.
we are providing the client credentials over there, one username and password and one key. With the help of these
Mhm.
we are generating one token, and we are using that token as part of this OAuth 2.0.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell me some OAuth 1.0, some important keys, some important secret keys that you will be using, right? Somewhere client ID or secret key. Have you ever used that in 1.0?
In one point, actually, I haven't used 1.0. I have used bearer
Hmm.
token in my first project
Okay.
where we are directing,
Hmm.
like they have provided us some of the APIs, and using those APIs, we were generating our
Hmm.
bearer token. And that bearer token, we have, we have created some environment variables to use these tokens, and from there,
Hmm.
we were, refreshing the APIs after every 4 hours, and then it gets refreshed automatically.
So your token is getting refreshed automatically after, what is the TTL time for that? What is the session expire time?
It can be anything. In my last project, it was 4 hours because like we were working on onshore and offshore timing. So they were the only people, who were generating these tokens. And in my current project, it gets refreshed after every 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay. But don't you think so that 4 hours is too much on production?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because at that time, my onshore team was not available at offshore hour. That's why they have kept this much of hours so that we can use in our.
Okay. 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 So let's say your authentication got failed. Right, you're passing your the token ID got expired, or maybe the wrong token ID you were passing it. What is the response you will be getting from the server?
Okay. So in case my password get expired, then we are getting 401 unauthorized user status code.
Okay. And let's say your server is down, or maybe server could not understand your request or something like this. In that case, what will happen? What is the response code you will be getting?
Yeah, if server is down, then we'll be getting 500 internal server error.
Okay. So 500 is a very generic server error, right? Have you ever heard about 501 or 502 or 503?
I have heard about 501. Yeah, there are 501, 2 or 3 as well, but most of the time I get this 500 internal error. And these are the server error because like what happens is when the server is not responding at that time, we get this error. Apart from that, I never.
Okay, no worries. Can you tell me the difference between, let's say, URL and the URI? You must be using, it's a daily routine activities, right? That you are using some service URL, and then you are having one API URL, and then you have on a URI also. What is the difference between URL and URI?
Okay. So URL is like it's an address to a web page in the server, and URI is a combination where we are providing the path parameter and query parameter. We are providing the exact location in the server that is called URI using path parameter.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, fine. So let's see, what is the difference between path parameter and query parameter?
Okay. So path parameter is, as I told you earlier, that it is used to provide the exact location in the server. And whereas query parameter is used to filter the data basically. Suppose that there are multiple records in that web page, and I want to fetch the record with customer ID 1. So I can provide my query parameter as 1, and in that case, it will fetch the record that is having customer ID is 1.
So which character you will be using in your service URL or query parameter? Which character you will be using?
For query parameter, we use question mark.
Okay, and for path parameter?
Slash it is.
Which slash?
I think it's forward slash.
Okay, yeah, forward slash, right? Okay, good. So, so let's see. I'll give you one scenario. So you're saying RestAssured BDD that you are using it. So let's say I want to send a request to the server with a post call, and I want to send one payload also along with that. That is a JSON payload, and the request name is, let's see, create user, which is a typical post call, and then simple. I'll give you one URL. So you have to first test it and you have to automate it. So tell me the testing process for that. What are different things you will be needing to test this particular API? And then later on, you have to automate that. So what are the different things you will collect, kind of information that you will collect from the developers to test this particular API?
So in order to test this API, first authorization, we will check whether we require any type of authorization or not. If yes, then we are required that. And what are the mandatory fields that will be a part of this body for post request, and the URL, any environment variable that we need to use, that we can that is required as part of test. And once we'll send the response, some header information if it is required, then again we'll see whether some of the headers are required to test this type of APIs. And once we'll have all the necessary and required information, we'll send this request into the server, and then after getting a response, we'll validate the status code. Then the fields that should be a part of that response. Suppose that I have sent one payload with customer detail, his name, username or password or first name, last name, all these detail I'm sending, and in the response I should get customer ID. So that would be part of my validation.
Okay, so let's see the payload that you are passing. That to create the user, right? Every time it's giving you a response that okay, a customer got created successfully. Will you certify that API is working fine? Let's see, I'm the developer and I have done a hard-coded value. Whenever you are calling this particular API, and the server will always send the user created successfully. How will you make sure that okay, this API is working fine, and then this user got created through the API?
So once we'll get the customer ID, once we'll send the post request, we can use that customer ID to fetch the record from the server. For that, we can use get request, and when we send this get request, we need to send the customer ID as part of parameter, and it will search that particular customer ID and its respective details from the server, and it will provide us the response accordingly.
So let's see, you don't have any GET API for that. Developer, they have not created any GET API yet. It means you cannot call GET API. What else you can check? What are the other ways you can check? Where exactly the data is getting created?
In the server, in the database.
So don't you think that you will go to the database and check it over there?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So what we can do is, I can tell you one example. Whatever the post we are sending over here in my project, those details are getting recorded in DynamoDB in AWS S3 bucket, and in from DynamoDB we can search that particular customer ID has been created or not.
Okay, so you will go to the database and hit your queries over there, and then you will fetch the data that customer got created or not, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So can we create a data using put call?
Yes, I guess so. Yes.
Okay. Why? Put is used for generally for update, right? Can we create? Can we add the data with the help of put call?
Sorry, can you please come again?
So can we create a data with the put call?
I guess yes, we can create. Basically, it is used to update the data, but I think a put request is a part of post request only. So basically, one first post will come, and we can say put is sub part of post.
Okay. Okay. Good. No worries. So you are saying that okay, you are using Postman also, right? Obviously, you are using it Postman to hit the APIs and everything.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell me that in Postman that how will you configure your environment variables?
Okay. So in order to configure the environment variable, we need to click on new button, and there is environment option is there. We need to once we'll click on this, we need to provide one variable name and the path URL, some type of URL or some type of values that we want to use every time. We can provide, and we will update these details. And from the in order to use this environment variable, there is an option in the right side, environment option is there. We will click on this and we will select the particular variable that we have created.
So what are different types of environment variable we can set in Postman?
Whatever the values that we are using again and again, just like URL. So we can put URL, or we can put the authorization token as well.
So authorization token you will be setting in Postman a global environment variable or local environment variable. There are two types of environment variables, right?
I have heard of current and initial. So we should provide the token in the current value, not in the initial value, because of the security purpose again. Just like suppose that we are working on a team and I want to use that token for my purpose, right? So in that case I have to use current value, because if we provide the URL in the initial value as well, it will be shown to everybody. For security purpose.
My question is that there are two types of environment variable. Current and initial values you're talking about for a specific variable. I'm talking about what types of environment variable we can set. Let's see, I have 5 APIs, and for all the 5 APIs, I want to use the same URL or same API URL, or maybe same service token. I want to use that. So you will be using authentication token as a global environment variable or local environment variable. Have you ever used this feature in Postman?
So for every API, we are providing the token separately. So suppose that I'm working in GET request, then I need to refresh my token. So in that case, it should be current, local.
Okay, fine, no worries. So do you know, like in Postman, we can write some test cases with the help of JavaScript? Have you ever used that?
No, I never used it.
Okay, no worries. So you are using RestAssured for that. Why are you using RestAssured? Any specific reason, or because we have other APIs also, other DSL libraries also available, like we have HttpClient, JIRA, Catalan, other kinds are available, not Catalan, sorry. Karate is available. So why are you going with only with RestAssured?
So when I joined this organization, they were previously they were already using that framework. There was a framework they have created using given when then approach. So they were already using, and I had no option at that time.
Okay, that's fine. So
at that time I was new to this API testing, and also that was even for me it was learning.
Okay, good. So Ravi, I'll do one thing that I really want to see that, okay, really want to check that are you comfortable with RestAssured or not. So I'm just sharing one URL with you, and just go to the chat box and then click on this particular URL. Yeah, I can see your name. Can you see I am writing something? Hi Ravi,
yes.
I have written. Okay, great. So for example, let's see in RestAssured that you have to use, right? And you are using one basic auth over here. Let's see, you are using some username and you are using some password that should be part of your authentication, right? Or it could be, let's see, authentication header you can pass over here. We are not using any bearer token or something like this. Another thing is that it's a post call. And then you have one service API URL with that. And the API URL is something like this. Let's see, abc.com, whatever, right? And that is the account API. And then API name is create account. And as a payload, I'm passing one JSON payload over here, something like this. I'm just writing a simple payload like that you have to pass a name, colon, let's see, you are creating Ravi. And then I'm writing something like this. Let's see, city, you are using, let's see, whatever the city, let's see, you're using Delhi over here, like that. And some other information also that you are passing it, right? So this is the JSON payload that you have to pass. So can you write the code over here in RestAssured in BDD format with the help of given, when, then. I'm not expecting the exact syntax, but I want to see that how exactly you will write your steps over there in RestAssured, and then how will you validate it. So when you hit this particular API, right? So this is a request payload, and in the response, what exactly you get? In the response, you get that, okay, one user ID, you are getting it. Let's say user ID is one or whatever, and then you are getting one message over here in the JSON that user created successfully, like that.
Okay.
This is the JSON again, you are getting it. So I'm not writing the exact JSON syntax over here, but yeah, let's say assume that, okay, this is the JSON that you are getting it. How will
Okay.
you hit this API? How will you validate? And how will you write a simple automation test for that?
Okay. So for that, we can provide the
So you can directly start writing the method name. Yeah, exactly. No need to create the class name and all those things. Let's say you are using JUnit or TestNG. So simple, start writing from the @test annotation. So you can write the short forms if you want, so that we can save some time. I'm not expecting the exact syntax that you have to write. Okay, so let's see sample. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. And then we can use a log.
Okay, fine. So can you explain me like quickly what exactly the code that you have written?
So basically what happens is like in this approach, we have to use this keyword given, when, then, and in given section, we need to provide all the, prerequisite and the header that we need to provide, and the map that I want to send as
What is
part of
map here?
a map is like map is my payload that I want to send this record
So
as
how will
to record
you how will you
will be
how will you
yeah.
convert your JSON payload to map?
Sorry, can
How will you convert this JSON payload to the map?
actually what if, in before this test class, before this method, we have to create one map. In that map we can provide the details of the customer as part of key and value pair, and from there we can use this map as JSON payload.
Yeah. So, but how will you convert that? I got it. That okay, you have to convert your payload into map. So, what
Yeah, here
exactly you will write in that particular method?
Yeah, here I'm providing the content type that it will be application under JSON, that it will go in the JSON format. The data will go in the JSON format. Here,
Yeah, so the data is like that: name equal to Ravi, city equal to Delhi, phone number is equal to this, country
yeah.
is equal to India. Let's say you have 15 attributes are there in your payload. How will you
Mm-hmm.
convert this JSON payload to the hash map that you are using it? Which mechanism you will be using it, that you have to convert your JSON payload to a Java object? Like, have you ever heard about like serialization or deserialization, something like this?
I have heard about this, but I
Mhm.
never used it basically. So I think
Is it?
serialization is something that we are converting a object data type to, readable format to the server.
Okay. Okay. And then you are writing at line number 33, status is equal to 200. So when you create the user,
Mm-hmm.
so generally what exactly we get? 200 or 201?
Yeah, 201. When we create the customer,
Mhm.
we will get 01, and when we
Mhm.
search the data, we'll get 2000, 200.
Okay, but you are verifying city is equal to Hyderabad, and we are passing city equal to Delhi for a week.
Yeah, we think.
Okay, that's fine. So how will you check that the user created successfully, messages coming and user ID is also coming, and user ID is not null? How will you assert that?
Is not null. So for that, in body, we can assert the message first of all, that a mess, it
Mhm.
will be like, just like we have checked the city, for city should be Delhi, and it would be like message. mm,
Okay, whatever the message, yeah. Okay.
yeah, whatever successfully created.
Hmm. Okay, fine. So let me clear this. So you're also working on Selenium WebDriver, right?
Yes.
And you are using Java for that. So I'm giving you one scenario, a simple scenario over here, that what you have to do, there is a window. Okay, there is a window page, and on
Mm-hmm.
that particular window, there is a link is available. Then you click on this particular link, and there is a window number 2 is coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from the first window, you click on this link, and window 2 is getting appeared on a maybe in a new tab, or there is a separate window is coming. On this particular window, you have to write the title of the a new window. Title of the new window means title of the second window,
Yeah.
right? And uh, then you have to come back to the window number 1. Can you quickly write the basic code in Selenium? How will you handle this use case? And when you come back to
Oh,
the window number 1, then you have to get the title of the window 1. Correct?
oh,
Title of the
okay.
window 1, you have to get it. This is the question. Just quickly write the direct syntax. You can which method you will be using in Selenium. How will you handle this?
Yeah. So in order to get the window one session ID, we need to use get
Hmm.
window handle method.
But you are already on
And
window 1, right? When you launch your driver.get, let's see.
yeah.
Let me just to clear it out. This is the URL that you are using it, something like this. Let's say URL, which is abc.com, whatever that you are using it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you write abc.com, you are already on the window number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Now write the code.
Okay.
You keep explaining me also what
Yeah.
exactly you are trying writing.
We'll use get window handle. It
Mhm.
will store current window session ID into this string variable, and we are printing this value.
Window session ID. Are you sure?
Uh, Window ID. It should be.
Mhm. Okay. So you don't need to print it. That's fine. You can ignore the printing part.
And then we can use set. So suppose that once I have clicked on this link, so on this page, when we click on this link that you are giving, let's say driver.find element, this is my element, right? And I'm clicking on this link, so another window will get open. In order to get the other windows which are getting opened, in order to store this ID, we have to use set, because and we have to use get window handles method, and get window handles method return type is set only because all the IDs will be unique in this case.
Okay.
So it would be
So
a
let's
child,
write
we
one
can
get. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, driver dot get window handles.
So what exactly it will return? You are saying it will return one set, and inside the set,
Yeah,
what exactly it will store?
the
How many
IDs
values?
of other child windows.
Are you sure? Or ID, or both the window IDs will be stored?
ID will be stored.
So what is the difference between driver.getWindowHandle at line number 7 and
Mhm.
driver.getWindowHandles you have written?
It will store the ID of the current window, this get window
Hmm.
handle, and
Hmm.
it will store the list of other window except current window.
Are you sure?
Yeah, so just
So you've
like it
written
will store.
driver.getWindowHandles. If you're saying that, okay, it will store the child window or window number 2, then you
Yeah,
can simply use driver.getWindowHandle also. Then why are you using driver.getWindowHandles?
because it will be my parent window, right?
So at line
This
number
first,
13, you have created one set reference over here, right? Child. So this reference is having one object over here, pointing to
yeah.
one object. In this object, how many window IDs will be stored?
Um, so once we'll click on this link, it will open
Mhm.
one ID, right? Or one window. So it will store
Yeah.
one window, one child window, except this parent window.
So it will not store the parent one.
No,
Are you sure?
I'm not sure though, but it should work like this only.
Yeah, it should work like this, but you should know what exactly it will store, right? In the at line number 13, whatever the set object reference that you are creating, it is pointing to an object and it will store both the window IDs, window 1 and window 2. That's why
Okay,
we
okay,
are storing inside the set, right?
okay, okay, sure. Okay, I get it now.
Then after that, what will you write?
We need to use for each loop string w then child, and then if,
Can you use directly for each loop with a set? Set does not maintain any order, right?
yes.
Then
Mm,
can I use some, let's see, iterator over here?
iterator, yes, we can use iterator.
Okay, so let's see, in order to get the title of the new window, the second
Mhm.
window, how will you go there?
So second window again. I was trying to start a loop here, and I was
Hmm.
checking whether this child window ID is not equal to the parent ID because I want to move to the child window. So here I
Okay.
am the like child window is not equal to parent. Then it will will use driver dot switch to uh, and then window, and in the brackets we need to provide the child window ID. In this case
Hmm.
we'll provide W, and it will navigate to particular child window, and then
Okay.
there we wanted to get the get title, right? So once we'll
Hmm.
move on to child window, we will get the title using get title method, and then again our job was to come back to the previous window again. So in that case we
Hmm.
can use default content method, and once we'll move on to the parent window, we can again get the title using get
Wait, wait,
title
wait,
method.
wait. Why are you using default content? And what will happen to window number 2? Don't you think that you should close?
close this.
Once
Yeah.
work
So
is done.
yeah, when we'll get the title of the window, child window, we can close that particular window using driver.close, and then we can use default content method, and then it will navigate back to the parent.
Are you sure you have to use default content which will come back to the main window or window number one? Don't you think so that you have to switch back to the parent window by using driver
Yeah,
dot switch to dot
default
window
content
instead of
will
default
use,
content,
yeah, I think default content will be used in frames, I guess.
right?
And for
Mhm.
Windows, we have to use, we need to switch again to the parent window. That's why we have
So
fetched the parent window
why
string.
do we need to switch back to the main window? You have already closed the second window after getting the title. Why do we need to switch back to the window number one? What is the reason?
But because we want to come to again to the
Mhm.
parent window, so that control will be there in the parent window.
Okay. So let's see if I'm saying window number two is getting closed. Where is the
Mhm.
driver now?
Uh,
Have you ever thought about it? Where is the driver now? Driver is not back to window number one because you, let's see, you just close the window number two. Where is the driver
mhm.
now?
I
Mhm.
don't know.
Okay, anyways, no worries. Perfect, no issues. Okay. So let me just stop sharing this 1 second. Okay. So in Selenium, let's see there is a drop down and the drop down does not have any select tag. How will you handle that without select tag?
Okay. So in Selenium, if we don't
Mhm.
have any select then we can, there must be any list over there.
Mhm.
So we
Yeah,
can
let's see one
store.
list is there.
Mhm. So we can store all the web elements that are present in that web list. We can store in one list, and from there we can iterate all. We can go through the list. We can traverse the list, and whatever the
Mhm.
value we want to get selected, we can match the value, and then we can use click button in order to click that option to select the option.
Okay. Okay, good. So tell me some at least 5 important methods available in actions class. What are different user actions you can perform with the help of actions class?
Okay. So actions class, we can mouse over to the
Mhm.
to particular element. We can right click, we can double click, we can hold, stop and hold, we can hold the mouse to particular
Mhm.
element, we can select the value, we can perform
Select the
click
value
method,
means. Okay.
we can select the
What else?
text,
What else? What
we
else?
can click,
Some very important user actions you can perform, right? Just like you said, drag and drop or click and hold. What else we
yeah,
can do?
right click using context,
Okay. And
and then mouse over, move to
mhm.
element, and
Mhm.
then
Okay.
double
So
click,
which method you will be using? Yeah, double click is also there. Good. So which method you will be using for right click?
context click method.
Context click. Okay, good. So let's see in Selenium. Can you tell me how exactly Selenium works with respect to, what is its server architecture? How exactly it will send the request to the browser and clicking on a specific button? Can you tell me some important major components over here with respect to Selenium architecture, the WebDriver architecture?
Okay. So talking about a WebDriver architecture, what is happening
Yeah.
at the background? Whatever they have provided us the Selenium
Mhm.
libraries, right? Multiple languages, just like Ruby, and then Java is there.
Mhm.
Multiple language support. So we are, writing the code into our language, that is Java. So what happens is like it will create one payload. Basically, these libraries are just APIs only. they are sending the request to the driver file, and then from the driver file, it will perform the action to the actual browser. So what is happening is, like, suppose that I'm writing code into the Java language, and then it is creating that code into JSON payload.
What is a
and
driver file?
and
What do you mean by driver file?
yeah, every browser are they have created one driver file that is we are using Chrome driver, Firefox driver. So every browser class have created their drivers, and we are sending JSON payload will go to that particular driver file. In case of Chrome, it will go to Chrome driver file, and from that file it will go perform the action into the actual browser.
In case of
So
Firefox,
it will be a Firefox driver.
are you sure? Firefox driver, we have a separate name for Firefox, right?
Gecko driver, Gecko driver.
Gecko driver, okay. Okay,
So
then
from there it will perform the action into the actual browser, and suppose that I have sent one request that I need to click on some particular element. It will create one JSON payload. It will send that response to the driver class, and driver class will perform the actual action on the browser. Then again, in order to receive the response, the browser will send the response to driver class, and then driver class will again convert that JSON into our readable format that we are seeing in the console. So
okay.
this is how it works in the background.
So let's say you have written 20 steps over there in your test scenario. So what is the most important thing that for every request you have to send along with your JSON payload, along with your request? One important thing you are missing, right? The first time, the moment you write web driver equal to new Chrome driver, what exactly is happening at the server side?
It will set the property.
Okay, let's see, the property is also set. I'm talking about at the server side, it will maintain one ID, right? And that ID you have to send with every request.
Okay, that I think I'm forgetting that part.
No, I'm talking about the session ID, right? The first time it will create a session ID, and next time, let's see.
Yeah, session ID would be created and it will send.
So let's say you quit the browser. You have written driver.quit. What will happen to the session ID after that? Can we use driver once again after using quit?
No, because it will set that session ID value as null.
Okay. And if I'm using driver.close,
then it will only close the current browser. We can
but what will
again,
happen to the session ID?
session ID will be up and running, I guess. I'm not sure about it, but it should up and running, and we can again open one URL using get method. I'm not sure though. My assumption. I'm not sure.
Okay. You are correct about quit. In case of quit, your session ID will be null. In case of close, what will happen? Session ID will be null or session ID will be expired?
It should expired, and when again we'll open a new browser, it will again get refreshed according to the new URL.
But to launch the new URL, again you have to write driver.get method. And the moment you write driver.get, server will refuse this request because the session ID is expired.
Maybe it will expire then.
Okay, fine, no worries.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay, perfectly fine. So you are using Selenium page object model, like framework part, and designing the pattern over here. So what do you mean by page object model? Can you quickly tell me some 3 important points in page object model that you will always take care of it?
Okay. So basically, page object model is a design pattern where we can create our test cases and we can create our framework in more readable form. So one would be more readable, and reusability would be there in case of page object model, and we can maintain our code very easily. So these are the main three components that we can discuss as part of page object model.
So these are the advantages. I'm talking about how will you design it? What are three important things you will consider
Okay.
while creating the page
Yeah.
object model?
Okay. So for creating the page object model, what we can do is
Hmm.
we can create three type of layer. That is page layer, where we'll be having all page classes related to all pages to the web application. And
Hmm.
in these page classes, we'll be using bilocator class, or maybe we can use at the rate find annotation
Hmm.
in order to keep these locators, and we'll provide the page actions respective to these locators. And once we'll
Okay.
create these page classes, we'll start creating our test classes. In test layer, we'll be
Hmm.
creating multiple test classes, and in these test classes, we'll be creating actual test method, the test cases we can create over here using these page classes. And
So if
they
I
will be
ask you,
Mhm.
so let's see if I say that, okay, where will you write your assertion? Assertion you will be writing in your page class, in your page action method, or in your test class?
We will be using assertion in test methods only.
Okay. What if I'm writing in the in the page classes, in the page actions, I'm writing assertion? What is the problem with that?
There's no problem, we can do so, but it's a good practice to use assertion in test methods, because suppose that
Hmm.
I'm creating one test case, and in that test
Hmm.
case, I can use assertions over there, because that will be part of that test case only, and the page class will
Hmm.
having actions only related to that those locators only.
Hmm. Okay. So you are saying it's not a good practice to maintain the assertion in the page class.
Yeah, yeah. So there are some standards that we
Hmm.
can follow in order to create test cases. So that's why it's a good practice to
Hmm.
use our assertions in test layer only.
Okay. So where will you manage your environment variables, certain configurations that you have to maintain in your framework? What is the best practice to maintain the environment variables?
For environment variables, we can use properties files.
Hmm.
In properties files, we can store all the environment variable, just like we can keep our URL over there, username and password over there, and then
Hmm.
browser details should be there. Like all other details we can provide in the properties file, and we can initialize these property files into our setup method.
Okay. Okay. So let's see, I want to execute my test cases on the different environments. For example, your manager says that, okay, execute sanity test cases on the QA environment, regression test cases on the stage environment, and then again, let's see, start running your test cases on the dev or stage environment. How will you set up this thing, these environment concept in your framework?
So, as I said, that we can maintain multiple URLs over there in properties class. So in properties class,
Mhm.
we can maintain all the URLs that will be a part of sanity or regression on any other area, right? And from there, in
Mhm.
the runtime, we just need to provide the name of the URL. So let's say I
Mhm.
have created for sanity one URL would be there, and for UAT one URL would be there. So in the runtime, we just need to update our setup method with that particular environment variable name. We don't need to hard code the value with the actual
Mhm.
URL that we're using.
Okay, so will you maintain somewhere in your properties file? How many properties file? But my question is that, okay, let's see, on your username, password, and your other information is different on Q environment. You cannot
Mhm,
use the same username, password in the dev environment or the stage environment.
mhm,
So without changing any, anything in your configuration or anything in your code, your manager
mhm.
says that, okay, simple execute in the QA environment. How will you do that? What kind of configuration you will handle in your framework?
That I haven't used it in practice.
Okay.
Basically, what I have done is, we were just updating the property file, whatever
Hmm.
the environment files we want to use, we were updating the URL from the property file.
Okay, from the properties file. Okay,
Yes.
okay, fine, no worries. So in same thing, let's see, in your framework, what kind of reports you are using, like, and why are you using that? What is the reason of using that particular report?
Mhm. Okay, so for reporting part, we can use a log4j
Mhm,
API, and there is extent report is
mhm.
also there. It's a good practice to use extent report because it's
Why?
whenever we because
Why it is a good practice?
it provide the report into very detailed manner, that once we'll get a
Mhm,
report, it will provide the all the pass and fail test cases into one section, and there will be one pie chart section would be there where we can see the execution flow, right?
mhm.
And whatever the test case got failed, that would come under one section only, so it would be in a very readable format, so that we can send this file to our stakeholders, like manager or PO or BA.
Okay, good. So right now, whatever the code, let's see, you have written in your local, in your laptop you're writing, you have designed the entire test cases and framework and everything. I want
Mhm,
to set up one complete testing automation infrastructure,
mhm,
right? So you are the new person in the team, and then if I say, okay, here, Ravi, you have to set up the entire infrastructure. So for infrastructure point of view, for test case execution to test case management and everything, what are the different tools, technologies you will be using it? So can you tell me, like, overall high level, some tech stack over here with respect
mhm.
to infrastructure?
So yeah, so once we are done with the test case creation and execution, in order to execute those test cases, we can maintain our code into version control tools like GitHub
Hmm.
or Bitbucket, and we can use Jenkins pipelines. We can create one pipeline in Jenkins,
Hmm.
and in when we'll create our Jenkins pipeline, we can provide
Hmm.
the actual GitHub path where we have located our project. We have placed our project, and then we can provide the path in Jenkins
Hmm.
pipeline only. From Jenkins only, we can run our test cases directly.
What else? So you will be, let's see, I'll give you one server on AWS or maybe somewhere hosted in in our office premises. And I say
Mm-hmm.
that, okay, yeah, you install Jenkins over there. Will you run your test cases on the same machine, or you will set up a separate execution infrastructure?
I didn't understand your question.
So let's see, there is a Jenkins machine is there. You're saying that, okay, I'll set up my job on the Jenkins. You connect with the Git repositories, and your browser is also launching on the same Jenkins machine. That is, don't you think it's a wrong practice, right? You have other 10 team members also there, and other 5 team projects are there, and then they all are using the same Jenkins machine, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody is running the test cases on the same machine. Everybody is launching the browser on the same machine. Is it a good practice?
It's not like we have set we
Mhm.
have set up the Jenkins in our system. We are using one Jenkins link, that is like our organization has using one
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Your organization has given one server, and you are responsible to install Jenkins, set up Jenkins on that particular machine, on that
yes,
particular server. Don't you think that, okay, everyone is using the same Jenkins machine to run their test cases, and browser is getting launched on the same machine? Because let's say you are using Chrome 85. Assume that.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
I'm in a different team. I'm also using the same Jenkins machine. I also trigger my test cases on the same Chrome 85, but your Chrome 85 is already busy.
mm-hmm.
So don't you think there will be a conflict, and then these sort of problems you will see?
Yeah, this could be.
So how to solve these problems? Like, what kind of other infrastructure you will set up? Like, have you ever
uh,
heard about Selenium grid on Docker machines, Docker containers?
I have heard about it, but I don't know, like I haven't learned about this. I just heard about it,
Okay,
like
but
Docker.
in your company, what exactly you guys are using it?
uh, the approach that I have told you earlier, that
Hmm.
we are making our code into GitHub, and then from
Hmm.
there we are in Jenkins pipeline we are providing the GitHub path. So this is the setup I have done so far, and in the near future, they are planning to set up altogether a different infrastructure.
Hmm.
They be maintaining these repositories in a very good manner, but I haven't done
Yeah,
this.
repositories you can manage anytime, right? Let's say repository is just a source code management tool,
Yeah.
right? And the Jenkins is just picking the repository, cloning the repository, creating the workspace, and launching the browser. The problem will happen when you have a bigger team, when you have multiple projects using the same
Mhm.
Jenkins to execute the test cases on the same machine. That is, don't you think it's a good practice or it's a wrong practice? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I don't think so. It's a good practice. So
Mhm,
we should use the concept of parallel testing as well, or maybe
mhm.
Selenium grid we can use as part of this.
Okay. So do you understand Selenium Grid? What is Selenium
Mm,
Grid? If someone is asking you, okay, what do you mean by grid?
So I just note the definition of this. That is, we can run
Hmm.
our test into parallel mode and into the different
Hmm.
machines.
Okay, no worries. Okay. So, okay. So for example, let's see if I ask you one thing that you are saying that okay, you are using AWS, right?
Mhm.
You are using your API are hosted on AWS server and DynamoDB also you are using it over there like that. So DynamoDB is a SQL database or no SQL database?
Sorry, can you please come again?
DynamoDB is a SQL database or no SQL database?
That I'm not sure, but
Mhm.
whatever we are doing is we are, as I told you earlier, that we are validating whether the data has been created. So it will be in the
Mhm.
tabular form. We can filter the data as well. So there are some UI they
Mhm.
have provided to filter the data that we can provide the. We can sort
Okay.
our data. We can provide the data. There is one filter option is there, and we can filter out the
Yeah.
data according to our
So
requirement.
my question is that DynamoDB is SQL database. So what is the difference like between SQL database or no SQL database? For example, let's see MongoDB. MongoDB is no SQL database, but Oracle is a SQL database. What is the basic difference between these two databases? Have you ever thought about it?
SQL database is where we are searching the data using SQL queries,
Hmm?
whereas
And then,
in like other databases we don't use SQL queries. We just I have never used it other databases, but yeah, maybe it
hmm,
should be there. Be like that. We don't need to use some SQL queries in order to search the data.
but you're using DynamoDB, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine, no worries. So, for the testing process point of view, you are saying that okay, you guys are using uh, regression test cycle. Are you doing any execution manually, like running the test cases which are not automated? So, do
Yes.
you have certain case or like you have 100% automation is there?
Yeah, we have multiple cases where we are
Mhm.
executing our test cases manually.
So, what do you think? Like, which test cases should be automated and which should not be automated, or 100% automation is possible?
Uh, uh, I would say that 100%
Mhm.
automation is not possible because there are some
Mhm.
cases where dependency would be there. Uh, let's say one flow is there, and next day I can test its further flow. So
Mhm.
dependent test shouldn't be automated, or we
Mhm.
should always start with our happy path test cases,
Mhm.
whatever the normal which the application is working fine and the flow is working fine,
Mhm.
we can start our automation with that, and then we can
Mhm.
move ahead with our sanity and regression testing.
Okay. So you're saying only happy path scenarios should be automated. What about some negative scenarios?
Yeah, negative also, negative scenario should be there.
Hmm.
I'm saying that the test shouldn't be
Mhm.
there, dependent tests.
For example, can you give me any example?
Yeah. So suppose that there is a flow that for one account number, I am performing some transaction that I have deposited uh, $200 in that account number, and in the next day we need to check whether that $200 are reflecting in these transactions or not. So this is the dependent two test cases, that it depends on the first
Hmm.
test case. First it will apply. So these are this is example of dependent test case, and we shouldn't uh, I'm not saying that we shouldn't automate, but yeah, we should ignore these type of dependent test cases.
But in this case, I can simply create the data first and then I'll validate.
Yeah,
And creating the data
some
will be my precondition. I'll be writing in my setup method, just create a data, and in my at the rate test, I'll be verifying the data.
it will
So,
take 1 day to reflect. It will take 1 day to
okay.
reflect because earlier I was in a banking project, so there was a flow
Hmm.
where I have some deposited $200 in one account number, and it will take, like, there were some batch was going
So you're
there,
saying
and
between somewhere batch processing were there and it was taking some time. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good. No worries. So, tell me one thing that if I ask you to join this particular team and for initially 2, 3 months, you don't have any automation work, or let's say for next 6 months, you don't have any automation work, but
Mhm.
product is really good, team is really good, and we will start automation maybe after 4, 5 months or 6 months. We really don't have time. We really have a crucial releases are coming. So in that case, what will you do? And you will
Yeah,
get to know this thing when you join the team.
yeah, so in these type of situations, yeah,
Mhm.
definitely I would love to be a part of team where the team environment is good, or like, yeah, automation will come in the future, but
Mhm.
before that, I would get to know the application. I can get familiar with the application, how it works, so that, once
Mhm.
automation come into the picture, I'll start automation without, because there, without the knowledge of the
Mhm.
product or the application, we cannot automate, and we shouldn't
Mhm.
basically. So it's a good practice
Mhm.
to get familiar with the application first. So yeah, in the starting initial days, I'm
Mhm.
ready to work uh, without automation part. Yeah, I can work,
Mhm.
and I can execute test cases manually so that I'll get familiar with the application.
Okay. Okay. And in your resume, I can see that, okay, you're using Jira and such things. So can you tell me what are different things you're doing with respect to Jira?
So Jira and Rally I have used as a, we are maintaining our user stories over there, and we are
Hmm.
creating sub stories over there. And in Rally, it's more of a Jira kind of tool only, and we
Mhm.
are raising defects over there as well. And we can we have I have created test cases over there in Rally,
Hmm.
and in Jira,
Okay.
we have just used to maintain our user story. In my previous projects, I have used Jira as part of, maintaining the user stories and providing the
Hmm.
hours and all.
Okay. But you're writing your test cases in Rally.
Yes.
Okay. But don't you think that it will be difficult that you have to, let's see, map your test cases with your user story? Then it will be difficult because you're writing the user story in Jira and writing a test case in Rally. How will you create a traceability matrix over here?
No, no. It was like I told you that
Mhm.
in my previous project we have used Jira to maintain the user stories, and to create the test cases we have used TestRail. And in my
Okay,
current
test rate.
project, yeah, and in
Okay.
my current project we are not using any test management tool, so we are maintaining our user stories in Rally only, and we are creating the
Hmm.
defects and the test cases in Rally itself.
Okay, so you're saying you're using in your current project Rally and then everything is available in Rally only.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, good. Okay, so one last question from my side. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so give me an example of something that you have tried in your job and then you were trying to do something and that could not work. And how did you learn from it? What exactly you learned from it? And you totally miserably you failed in that particular job, right? So how will you come out of it? And what did you learn from that particular? Just give me one example. What did you learn from that particular task?
Okay. So in
Any
my
example, any example in your current company, previous company, anywhere where you try to do something and you miserably failed.
yeah, so it was like I didn't know the actual coding part, Visual Basics, and
Hmm.
there was a project in which we were uploading the data into the database, and before that we have to
Hmm.
maintain the Excel sheets over there. So there were some data that we needed to check first that it's in the correct format or not. So I tried to make one macro using Visual Basic language that it should check
Hmm.
the data should it's in the correct format or not. So at that time
Hmm.
I was not aware of this Visual Basic. Even
Hmm.
right now I'm not aware. But yeah, at that time I failed to do that.
And what did you learn from that incident, from that situation?
Yeah, I learned that I should learn the basics first of
Mhm.
I should learn the Visual Basic first, and then I should start doing such type of automating the process.
Okay. Okay. One last thing from my side, Ravi, that how exactly you are enhancing your testing knowledge? Are you like in your free time when you get time, from where you are learning, how exactly you are learning, or you are just waiting for a specific opportunity to work on a testing activity or testing automation tool, let's see, from the project? Are you waiting for that opportunity, or you are just like
No, no,
already learning? Mhm.
I am not waiting for any opportunity in my project because it's been high
Hmm.
time to learn new technologies. So I am using
Hmm.
uh, YouTube to learn new technologies, and also as for so far I have learned BTT framework over there because I haven't used it. I have used in API testing, but in Selenium I never used it. BTT
Hmm.
framework. So from YouTube, I'm learning this, and very soon I'm starting to learn APM as well for mobile
Hmm.
testing.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, good. So I think, Ravi, that's all from my side. So the interview is over. Do you have any question?
Yeah, definitely. If what like how I have performed, you can tell me
Yeah,
right
that
now.
I'm going to tell you. But what do you think? What do you think about it? How was it? I did not ask any tough question, first of all.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
like whatever you have written in your resume. I
Mhm.
just wanted to check your practical knowledge. So what do you think? Where exactly you are really strong, and where exactly you think that okay, you are missing something and you have to prepare and you are lacking?
Yeah, I think my concepts are good,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm able to tell you the exact concept. But when it
Hmm.
comes to writing the code, when about the session ID,
Hmm.
I got confused, and then there were some
Hmm.
other things there. So I think
Hmm.
I need to work more in these areas to clear the concepts more. And
Hmm.
yeah, in
Hmm.
yeah, apart from that, I that's it.
Okay, see, I'll tell you the problem. First, I'll tell you the positive parts, right?
Yeah.
So your communication is good, no doubt about it. But I'll tell you the but later. But you know the concept. You are absolutely right. You know the concepts. You know, okay, how exactly things are working, and whatever you have written in your resume, that you are not bluffing anything. That okay, you have written some big words,
Hmm.
and but it's not like that you don't know about it. If, for example, if I ask you about Selenium or RestAssured or something like this, most of people they write RestAssured and they are not sure about how to write the code in RestAssured or API testing in Postman and everything. So that is actually really good. Some questions, answers that you have actually really good, like reporting and what Selenium concepts are really good, no doubt about it. I'll tell you what exactly the problem. Okay, in some time, your API is a very strong part that I felt that okay, you whatever you are doing, you know the things. Here and there, some improvements are needed. Some answers can be, fine tuned, or maybe you can polish those answers, right? And you are aware about your testing activities, and you know the things. With your resume, it reflects that okay, this guy is not bluffing. This guy is not saying just for the sake of saying it. So whatever it's written in your resume, you are actually doing it. Whatever it's, when you give the answer, also it's reflecting over there. That's a positive point. That's a really good point. Now let's talk about the improvement areas. See, one overall high level thing I'll tell you that with your interview, see, we spent around 1 hour, 15 minutes, something like this. And I did not ask much questions. Did you notice why?
Mhm.
I could not ask
Because
actually. I really wanted to ask because what?
the time
You tell me,
I
like,
was
what did you
taking
realize?
I was
Because
taking
you
more
were
time to explain.
exactly, you were taking more time. You were like, just take it in a positive way. You are stretching
Yeah,
sometimes, questions, you should be to the point. You should not tell, okay,
okay,
in my project, in that particular module, this is what account ID got created or something like this. If someone is saying that, asking that, then you can mention that. This is just one of the examples.
okay,
Otherwise, also like some other situations, also you stretch some time, and then I had to stop you. I
yeah,
wanted to ask more and more good questions, but I could not do it because in the real time interviews, also people will be having only let's say 30 minutes or maybe 45 minutes. Nobody is going to spend time 2 hours with you, right? So
yeah,
this is the thing that you have to the point, cut to the point that to the point answer you have to give. Whatever they are asking, just very polished answer that you have to give. Do
okay,
not stretch unnecessary things. Okay, with respect to each and every detailed thing that okay you are explaining about your project, about your modules, and whatever. Okay, you're getting the point, right? What exactly I'm trying to say. That's why
okay,
that is the main reason that we could not, I could not ask much questions over there.
okay,
Otherwise, your answers were good, but somewhere you have to prepare. For example, let's say for API, you should know about the exact difference between 1.0, 2.0, because when you say
okay,
this thing, right,
okay.
definitely you will expect these kind of questions. Tell me about 1.0, 2.0, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is a token ID? You were confused about URL and the URI also. So please prepare that. You are sure about your path parameter, but I ask you what kind of parameter path parameter, what is a symbol for that? So let's see forward slash, simple, very straightforward answer, forward slash. And I was right. So query parameter, you were good. And then 404, 500 and all those things, those was actually really good. There is no problem with that. But improve that authentication part. What
Mm-hmm.
is the bearer token? You are using bearer token, which is coming under which authorization? What types of different authorization are available, like primitive authorization and basic authentication, 2.0, 1.0, right? Token ID, what is secret key, what is client ID, what is client secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you told one thing, 2.0 is more secured as compared to 1.0, but why? What are the different other factors, other differences are there? Try to prepare this question. If you are showing API experience, people will definitely ask these kind of questions for sure, right? Then your intro was good. Your intro was like with respect to what exactly things we are doing in terms of testing, in terms of automation, tools, technologies, what kind of process thing that you are using it. You said that, okay, we are using Sprint and all those things. So I'll say that, okay, it was really nice answer that, okay, you have given that. I really liked it. Okay.
Okay.
You have a good attitude. You listen the things and then you give the answer. Every candidate should have that. You should not, just running behind the answer to give the answer. So just you have that hold, and then when you give the answer, that is really good part. Then testing API, I give you one scenario. Let's see how will you test it. So I ask you one thing that, okay, from the developers, what are the different things that you will get to test? Let's see, create account, it's a post call. So you gave all the pointers over here. I'll ask for the authentication, body, URL, variable, header, and all those things. Some extra factor, that negative testing point of view. What are the error codes they have defined?
Yeah,
That is a very important testing, right? Because when customer is using your API or your mobile device, they are using your API, what are the different error handlers they have handled over there, right? What kind of mandatory and non-mandatory fields that you have, I think you have already covered that particular part. Okay, so just mention those things as well.
okay,
Then you were confused about the moment we get the customer ID, and then yeah, your test case is passed. But how will you validate that in the database? So that's fine. You will call the get API. But what if get API is not available? That is what
yeah,
you have to be different from other candidates. That you simply say, okay, I'll immediately go to the database. I'll check ultimately the data is getting stored in the database. You're fetching the data from the database only. So it's just a game between API and the database. What is the database that you are using it? So every time you will either you are writing manual test or automation test, you will test, go to the system, go to the database and check over there that data got created in the QA environment or not. Like that. That is a complete test. Same thing in RestAssured also. The data got inserted and then you will write one, let's see, JDBC, ODBC connectivity and then fetch the data and checking over there for full-fledged, a validation that, okay, yeah, my GET API is also giving the same data and the database also giving the same data that, let's see, Ravi got created with the customer ID equal to 1. That is a perfect test case that you can write it over here, right? Okay, then Postman, you are using it. You know most of the things about Postman, but confused about different environment variables like global and local environment variables we were having. How to set up? You were talking about current value and the initial value. That is the column values for the environment variables. But what type of environment variables? Well, let's see, for example, for the QA environment that you want to set up over there. In that case, you want to maintain your tokens over there. For all the APIs, the token will remain same for next 3 hours or 4 hours in the QA environment. So I will set it over there with respect to global environment over there, like that. And then please at least try to, if you're not sure about it, that's okay, but try to at least, hardly it will take a 1 hour session. You can check any YouTube video. In fact, I have one video on how to write the basic JavaScript test in Postman. It will enhance your knowledge on Postman. Although you are using RestAssured, but people might ask you. So it's just a matter of 1 hour and half an hour, and then just watch that practice once. It's very straightforward. Exactly same thing that you are doing in RestAssured, you can do it in Postman also with respect to JavaScript. You have to use Mocha APIs to, chai assertions and all those things that you have to use that, and then and simple call the API, get the response, and validate that. That also you can do that. So you can simple say like that. Then your RestAssured coding question I gave you that most of the things were correct, but I think slightly somewhere you were confused between the sequence over there, that how will you validate that, how will you pass the header, and how will you pass the body, and what kind of assertions that okay you will be doing it. Your sequence was absolutely almost everything was good. So in your RestAssured, it reflects that okay, yeah, you have that experience. So as such, no worries about in the in the RestAssured coding part. But you have Selenium, good knowledge about Selenium, like actions classes, select classes, and all those things. But window handler was not that up to the mark. That answer was not up to the mark. You were saying driver.get window handles will capture the child window ID. No, it will capture both the window IDs or whatever the windows are open currently. And then if you are, let's say you have 3 windows, window 1, 2, and 3. The moment you write driver.get window handles, it will capture all the 3 window IDs and store inside the set object over there. That's why it's returning the set and it will be unique. So your answer was right that okay, it is unique. That's why we are using it. That's why we are using set, not the list. But if it is unique, it's a collection. Collection means it will collect multiple things, multiple window IDs. It will return. So driver.get window handles will store both the window IDs, not only the child window ID. If you have only one window, it will capture only one window ID. If you have multiple windows, it will capture multiple window IDs. So please, this is a very common question actually to handle the window, handler. So prepare that. I'm not saying the exact syntax. And one more thing, Ravi, that when you're writing the code, right, try to write quickly. Don't try okay exact method, and then if any typo is also there, you are doing it right. Don't let's see message spelling. Don't need to correct it. Everyone will understand it. Okay, yeah, this guy has written message over there or driver. Let's say you have written driver, but instead of written the spelling mistake is there, any typo is there. No need to correct that. That person, the interviewer will automatically understand that. So with this, you can actually quickly write the things, and no need to you were doing a lot of backslash and then doing correcting the typos and all those things. That's okay. You can simple quickly improve that particular thing. Okay, the context like actions classes and all those things were good. Your WebDriver architecture knowledge was really good. That was really good. You were confused between Firefox driver and Gecko driver, so please, it was just a small mistake, silly mistake, but yeah. And then the WebDriver architecture, you were saying that okay, we'll pass the JSON payload and all those things, but you missed one important point, that is a session ID.
Yes.
And you are coming from API testing background. You have done a lot of API testing, right? And how can you forget about the session ID, right? The first thing, session ID will be created and the session ID will be maintained throughout the session until driver.close or driver.quit. So please read about quit and close. after this interview, after this session, you just simply write the code after driver.quit. You simply try to write driver.findElement or driver.get and check what is happening with the session ID in the debug mode. Okay, just try to do that. You will get to
Okay.
know in close the session ID will be expired, in quit session ID will be null. So that's why I told you the for quit your answer was right, but for close the answer was not right. The session
Okay.
ID will be invalid or it will be expired, but the moment you write driver.get, it means
Mm-hmm.
you are passing a request to the server once again with the driver.get with the same old session ID. Server will reject this
Okay.
information, reject this particular request.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have to do? You have to launch the driver once again. You have to initialize your driver once again. So you have to write driver equal to a new Chrome driver once again. You have to write it, right? So that's why
Okay.
when we write that framework test, right? Driver.quit in the tear down method. Again, we will go to the initialize method in the setup method, right? And then again, the
Yeah.
setup method, initialize method will be called, and driver equal to new Chrome driver, we will be launching it. That is the reason. We will not write directly driver.get. We need a browser once again.
Okay.
Correct? Same thing like
Got it.
I think this is good. The page object model design pattern. Important points you told that okay in the page classes we should not write the test, but in the test classes we should write the assertions and all those things. That was good. That was like I really wanted to check. And environment variable is also good, but how will you handle on the multiple environment like QA, dev, and all? So please try to people they really want to see your design knowledge. How will you maintain the design in the current framework? Don't maintain everything inside the main common properties. Why do you want to
Yeah.
maintain the same common property? I can maintain four QA.config properties, dev.config properties, stage
Oh,
properties,
yeah.
like that. And whenever
Yeah.
it's required, like someone is saying, okay, run it on the stage. So from the Maven, I will write Maven clean install minus D environment equal to stage. So I will read as a property in my code, and then I will initialize that particular object only, which is pointing to the stage.properties. It's a very common code. You can check it on any blog or any channel. You will find that particular answer for that question. Okay, please prepare that. It's something important.
Sure.
Then
Sure.
reporting part was good, but then I asked about the infrastructure. See, you are 6 plus. You are showing 6 or
Mm-hmm.
6, 7, something like this. You are showing right 6, 7 years. People might expect you the infrastructure. Infrastructure is not only about Git repository or Jenkins,
Mm-hmm.
right? People might expect some matured answer over here. You simply say that, okay, no, we are using Jenkins and everybody is using the Jenkins on the same machine you are launching the browser. It's a wrong practice. We should never do that. We have a setup, environment setup for Selenium Grid, infrastructure or Selenoid or Selenium or any cloud you are using. Let's say on AWS, we have set up our Selenium Grid or maybe browser stack or maybe Sauce Labs that we are using it. But we will never run our we will never launch the test cases on the same Jenkins machine. Jenkins will
Mm-hmm.
just pick the code from the Git repository from the master branch, and then it will execute the test cases on the cloud or maybe on the Docker container or something like that. So please improve that particular part. Docker containers, Selenium Grid, and don't say that okay, I know only definition that Grid is used to execute the parallel mode. That's everybody knows that. Even 1 year experience guy also knows that part. But we are expecting some matured, proper answer for Selenium Grid. Because see, just because of these small things, you will never want that okay you are getting rejected.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
the things. So 80% things, 70% things you know it already, but 20-30% that is the golden part, that you have to fetch, you have to improve that particular part. Okay, so
Okay.
that is the thing. And yeah, so infrastructure means the Docker, Grid containers, and AWS. You can do that. Cloud machines, browser stacks, such things. Okay, you will be doing that. That is part of infrastructure. And these days, a lot of people are asking about the infrastructure. And then you have clearly written that okay, DynamoDB, you're using S3 over there and for the storage services and all, but you are not sure about the difference between a SQL and NoSQL database, right? So it's not like obviously in SQL database you have to hit the SQL queries,
Yeah.
but why you're using DynamoDB? What is the reason behind that, right? What do you mean by NoSQL database? What do you mean by so there are certain NoSQL databases like DynamoDB, Cassandra, MongoDB. There are NoSQL database. They store the data not in the form of rows and columns. They store it in the form of collections or maybe documents. Like that, they will store it, right? So try to understand why are we using it because you have written in your resume that DynamoDB. People
Mm-hmm.
will definitely ask, okay, why are you using DynamoDB? Why not Oracle database? Like that. Okay, so that is my observation. Overall, it looks good. You have on some other points, some on some other area that you have some really good knowledge, really good attitude, a nice, cool and calm candidate, I would say. But somewhere you are a little confused that you need to improve that. That is the thing from my side. And please do not stretch the answers unnecessary.
Okay.
Come to the point. That is what, because other candidates are also waiting. If you're
Yeah.
going for face to face, or let's say walk-in interview, or let's say telephonic also, so everyone wants to know everything about most of the things within 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Until unless you are really amazingly going good and some discussions are really happening like super nicely done, and then people might extend. But nobody is
Yeah.
free for more than 1 hour. So you have to explain everything as much as possible, as good as possible within 45 minutes and 1 hour. So try to do that. Okay.
Okay.
Cool, Ravi. So I think anything you want to ask?
I don't want to ask, but I would like to say thanks to you for having me here. And your work is very good, and you are serving to our community. That is very commendable. So I would like to thank you for that. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Ravi. Thanks a lot for your kind words. And then I'm really glad that, okay, my content is helping you and community. And
Yeah.
I wish you all the best. You have a couple of interviews this week and next week, right? So just go for it. And if you need any kind of help, just let me know. Okay.
So Naveen, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Ravi. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.